Hello, everyone.
Hello, humans. Do we have anybody watching?
Yes, we do.
Hey, welcome to our experimental remote hangout thing that we're doing.
What is this remote hangout thing, Steven?
Today we're going to be hanging out with me and Miss Liz and coloring in some coloring pages that we made. Most of these we actually made a while ago. I like the Deinonychus one here I recently updated, but a lot of these are from I want to say 2015. So not all of them are from the art from the episode, but some of our episodes are a little out of date now, or in the case of, where is it? In the case of Dimetrodon, our episode was not terribly accurate to start with, so
Here, show the other camera.
I can do that. Experimental. Okay, so I revised this recently, but it needs more revision. We need to do another episode about Dimetrodon, essentially, so we'll go through and talk about everything we got wrong the first time. But the main thing that's still wrong with this is the pose. Like, this is a pose they could do, but it's not the best communication of the way that they would move around, and the feet are too fat, essentially. But Therizinosaurus isn't that bad, so we're going to start with that guy. And I have all these crayons that Liz got me, and I have...
You can just hold them up to the camera if you need to.
Oh, well, I have a picture of a bird.
Oh.
I'm going to use this picture of a bird as my color reference, and I picked out these crayons. So we're going to do, like, gray and blue on the body and the wings, and then red on the belly and black on the head.
You have a little room by the tripod foot there to put the bird there so people can kind of keep seeing what you're working towards.
Sure.
Maybe.
I mean, that's going to turn off after a little while, but...
That's true, but at least it's reachable when you need it.
Yeah. So, let's start. I'm going to do dark blue at the top of the head. Also, you might not know this, but Your Dinosaurs Are Wrong is made digitally. So, I am not very good with traditional media. I can basically hold a pencil, and that's the extent of my ability. I don't think I have used crayons since we did that other coloring book thing that we did, where somebody sent us a coloring book that they had made, and I made a bunch of revisions to it, and I colored them in. I think that was the last time I have touched a crayon. It's certainly the last time that I touched these crayons, because these are the crayons that I used in that one. But now we have fancy new crayons.
And feel free to ask questions and stuff.
Yes, absolutely ask questions. Miss Liz is monitoring the chat, even though I'm not looking at it.
We'll try to get to everyone's, but no guarantees because the chat's already pretty full.
Oh, there's a lot of chat. Cool. Thanks for tuning in, humans. Oh, there it goes. I guess I could turn off the turning off if I wanted to. Oh,
Come back, phone.
Well, come back, bird. So on this bird, the black goes under the mouth, but then up around the eye. I recognize that this is not the most creative way to go about coloring a dinosaur, just finding a picture of a bird and copying it, but it's my dinosaur, and I will color it how I please.
Someone asked what my favorite dinosaur is. I think right now it's Pachycephalosaurus.
Pachycephalosaurus is a respectable choice.
I have no reasoning for this other than, yeah, I like it. One person asked, "How are you two?" We're
Oh,
okay.
yeah, we're doing okay.
We're surviving, like everyone else, hopefully.
Yeah, the global pandemic has not impacted our lives too much. Like, we know that some of the people who support us on Patreon have not been able to continue doing that, which we do not blame them at all. But yeah, we were already working from home, so our ability to self-isolate is quite high.
Greninjasaurus asks, "What's your favorite dinosaur?"
My favorite dinosaur varies from week to week, month to month. I'm fond of saying I don't have a favorite dinosaur. I have a sort of cluster of favorite dinosaurs. Pretty consistently in the lineup are Deinonychus, Microraptor, Allosaurus, Pentaceratops, yeah, I can't think of any others that are like regularly in my favorites. I'm presently somewhat fond of Stegosaurus.
Jake says, "Hey, longtime viewer from the UK. Just wanted to say I mentioned your channel to my partner, and a couple months later, she presented me with one of your T-shirts over Valentine's dinner."
Ah,
That's sweet.
that is really sweet.
Oops, it just scrolled up too high. For Steven, what's your favorite non-dinosaurian extinct animal? What's your favorite extant animal?
My favorite extant animal is the pangolin. My favorite non-dinosaur extinct animal? That's tough. To be honest, I don't think about them very much. I quite like Rhamphorhynchus. Calicotheres are cool. Knuckle-walking horses. Favorite? I don't think anybody doesn't like Lystrosaurus. Trypanosaurus is cool. I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but I just think they're cool.
Hematite Dragon asks, "What are your favorite colors?"
Favorite colors? I really like greens, but not like I can move the crayons. So, like, once you get into the bluer greens, I'm not as fond of them, but I really like the sort of middle-of-the-road yellowy greens. Those are my favorite colors.
Can we point out that the box of crayons does not come sorted like that?
I may have taken some time before we started today to sort out the crayons by color, because, as I just mentioned, I don't work with traditional media, so not having a thing of hue, lightness, saturation to pick to eyedropper from is really disorienting to me, so I have to arrange them in some way. What was I doing?
Coloring?
Yeah, I know I was coloring, but laughing at me.
Let's see. William asks, "Do you get a lot of requests on dinosaurs, as in not dinosaurs?"
We get a few. We just get some people who are like, "Hey, what about, such and such extinct animal or such and such extinct mammal?" We get a lot of requests for like mosasaurs. or other marine reptiles. What else
They
do we
point out that they've been looking for information on Protosauria, but pickings are slim.
Protorosauria?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. I have noticed that, especially if like you're just going to read blogs or just read Wikipedia, you're not those parts of the paleo internet are not as assiduously edited. So, like you'll have a dinosaur article and it'll be like 17 pages long and have a whole bunch of sources at the bottom, and then you go to one for like a Prehistoric or whatever, and it'll be like a stub with one source, and it's the description of the animal. But yeah, I don't know that much about them, is the problem. I wouldn't be opposed to doing a lot more non-dinosaur programming, but we'd have to get some outside help, I think. Could I be pressing harder? It's been so long since I used crayons. Oh yeah, that does make it darker. Perfect.
Would you be so kind as to take a moment to say hi to Harold and Alexander?
Hi, Harold and Alexander.
Barely functional. Well, they didn't ask it. They say say Parasaurolophus right now.
Say Parasaurolophus right now?
Yes.
Because, you know, some people say it Parasaurolophus. I said it Parasaurolophus until I watched the Magic School Bus, and they said Parasaurolophus. Of course, they also said Uranus when they went to the planets, and I'm not entirely sure that that's how you say that.
Forgive me if I mess up the name at all, but Senda Cuenta Books asked, do you guys play Animal Crossing? If so, any thoughts on the fossils in the game as far as accuracy and such?
I do not play Animal Crossing, but some folks on our Discord apparently do, and they shared some images of the fossils in the new game. Fossils in the new game are cool. They're pretty accurate. I believe the Stegosaurus is outdated. Like, it's got the old-fashioned, super curved spine on it. But other than that, no major complaints. It's weird to me that they are accurate, though, because it's a game with anthropomorphic animals in it. So what does that imply about the evolution of life in Animal Crossing? Did animals pass through a bunch of stages of being more or less the same as animals in our world, and then at some point they became humanoid and started having jobs and debt? Oh, and there's, like, if you look at the floor of the museum in that game, again, spoilers, the phylogeny of dinosaurs in that is weird as heck. What is it? They have sauropodomorphs as a sister group to a clade containing all other dinosaurs and pterosaurs. And they have, what is it? They have theropods and marginocephalians as a sister group. It's a very strange topology. Though it is funny, because that does mean that, like, in Animal Crossing's universe, pycnofibers are apparently also protofeathers, and that's a synapomorphy of that entire pterosaur plus non-sauropodomorph dinosaur clade.
CL asked, how do you feel about speculative zoology?
How do I feel about speculative zoology? I mean, plenty, as long as artists are making cool art, I feel fine about it. Like, a lot of people post their dinosaur-inspired, you know, what do you call them? Chimeras. And they look nice. I'm less enthused, I guess, about the speculative biology where it's like, this is what this animal would have evolved into if it survived into the Cretaceous, even though we don't have any evidence that it survived into the Cretaceous, where you're just kind of pretending that an animal that maybe could exist does exist. Like, if you're going to set it in explicitly a fantasy world, or if you're going to say, oh, what if dinosaurs kept evolving up into the present or whatever, and have them interacting with humans and stuff like that, that's fine by me, but there is sort of a chance that you might be misleading people if you're doing speculative biology that is still in the distant past, if that makes sense. And I'm not saying don't do it, I'm just saying that is maybe a problem with it.
Leo asks, where do you get most of your research info on dinosaurs? Do you have a favorite website or institution?
Do I have a favorite website or institution? I mean, as I previously mentioned, the Wikipedia articles for dinosaurs are really extensively cited. Like, people maintain those really well. So if you're looking for a place to start looking for research on any particular genus, Wikipedia page is not a bad place to start. Favorite institution? I mean, I like PLOS ONE, but not everything gets published on PLOS ONE, obviously. Generally, open access research, I love. Oh, my phone turned off. That's why I can't see my bird. Dark blue.
Cool Cats asks, did the Therizinosaurus use its claws for any self-defense?
Did the Therizinosaurus use its claws for any self-defense? I would not be even slightly surprised if it did. I don't think we have any evidence one way or the other. You know, like with Stegosaurus, we have injuries both on Stegosaurus's Thagomizer and on the animals that it got used on. That tells us that, yes, it used this as a weapon. I don't think we have any such injuries for Therizinosaurus claws, which is what we would want.
What's your favorite prehistoric crocodilomorph?
Favorite prehistoric crocodilomorph? Oh dear. This is an extremely vanilla answer, but... Oh wait, crocodilomorph. Yeah, it's fine. It's an extremely vanilla answer, but it's Postosuchus. Wait, is Crocodilomorph is Crocodilomorph the crown group, or is that...
Well, they list examples like Deinonychus, Armadillosuchus, or Caprosuchus.
I've only seen that word written. I think it's Caprosuchus. I don't have a favorite crown crocodile, if that answers your question. I probably should. They're important animals. Although I do like living saltwater crocodiles are really cool.
Puppies out. Go.
Oh.
Sorry, we have two little dogs that came in here to start a fight with each other.
Mm-hmm. They're good dogs.
They are good dogs, but they can go be siblings somewhere else. Someone asked why crayons.
Why crayons? Because otherwise I'd probably be... Wait, what are the options other than crayons? I guess I could do watercolor, but I'm really bad at watercolor too.
It's mostly why crayons because that's what I bought.
Oh. I guess I could have done, like, set up with a tablet and be using, you know, an art program on the computer, which is what I'm comfortable with. Most of our art comes from either Flash, Illustrator, Photoshop, or After Effects. Well, everything goes through After Effects ultimately. It just depends on where it starts.
Uh-huh.
And since a lot of our stuff, almost all of our stuff is vector, it'll start in either Illustrator or Flash, which are all Adobe products. I don't know why I keep turning to this camera as if they can see me on it.
Oh, I do switch sometimes when I'm not sorting their questions. I'm sorry.
But like I can notice that I keep turning to it even though I notice that they don't see me looking at it.
Right now, yeah. What's your favorite inaccurate reconstruction of a dino?
My favorite inaccurate reconstruction of a dino?
Yep.
Nobody's ever asked that.
Maybe Crystal Palace.
I am fond of the Crystal Palace dinosaurs. I don't know if I'd call them my favorite, though. Also, I don't know if those even count, because they were accurate when they were made. I feel like inaccurate portrayal of a dinosaur needs to mean something that was inaccurate when it was made. So if we're going by that criterion, probably the dinosaurs from Peter Jackson's King Kong. Because, like, they aren't accurate in any sense of the word, but they're charismatic, and they're really well-designed movie monsters, and they feel like real animals in a way that you don't often see. Like, they don't act like real animals because, you know, they have to chase the protagonists, but they at least, for the most part, feel like animals that could exist in the real world if dinosaurs kept evolving on that isolated island for 65 million years. Also, I just kind of like that movie.
What bird is this coloring based on?
I have no idea what bird that is. I'm not good at birds. You'd think I would be, since I like dinosaurs so much. But no, I don't even know what bird that is. I don't even know where I got that bird photo. And now that I'm thinking about it, it might be bad that I'm showing you that bird photo because it might not be Creative Commons or public domain or any of those fun things. I'm going to take that bird off the stream. You don't get to see that bird anymore.
Oh no.
I'm sorry. I have to protect the artist who photographed that bird. If I were smarter, I would have like saved the metadata for the photo, but no, I have a folder on my Dropbox that's just pictures of birds.
Like you do.
I almost never note what kind of bird it is, though, when I save the photo. Because I'm not diligent.
Noah asks, who is your favorite paleo artist?
Favorite paleo artist? I can tell you who made my favorite piece of paleo art. John Conway has a piece that's Confucius Ornis, like bathing. And that's my favorite piece of paleo art just because it's really pretty. But I don't know that I would call him my favorite paleo artist because that seems like a unfair thing to say because I like a lot of paleo artists.
One user says that the bird may be a bullfinch.
A bullfinch. That looks like something that could be called a bullfinch.
Do you have any list of next toy species for your Dinosaurs Are Wrong? I'm curious to see the next species to come.
Well, the next species to come has already been chosen by our patrons, and it will be in this box. There it is. It will be a Margosaurus. We have elections on our Patreon, and people can select what dinosaur, or they select what toy we're going to talk about next. But yeah, once Velociraptor is out, we will be able to have the next election for whatever dinosaur is after a Margosaurus. Are we done, Stephen? No. I think we need to put a little more gray on this.
Should we just point out when we plan on Velociraptor coming out?
Sure.
Because we actually have knowledge of that for once.
Right, so as you may have noticed, Velociraptor took a long time to make, but all of the animation specific to Velociraptor episode is done. Oh, they can't see me. All the animation specific to Velociraptor is done. All that's left is Liz's job, which is the final cut, and sound mixing and music and what else do you have to do? You have to add titles and color grading and all that stuff that I don't do. And yeah, it should be out next week. And this Therizinosaurus should be out right now, because it's done. Should I color the words? I'm not going to color the words. I'm going to move to the next time.
So what's next?
That's a good question. I think I'm going to do Deinonychus next. Somebody asked me to say Parasaurolophus earlier. They should have asked me to say Deinonychus, because I might have said Deinonychus if pressed, because that's how I've always pronounced it until a few years ago. Oh, that's a good color.
Leonardo asks, any museums you wish to visit?
I wish to visit most museums.
What are the top 3 if you had to choose?
Top 3 are Museum of the Rockies, AMNH, and the Smithsonian, now that the Paleo stuff is open again. Where's my red crayon? There it is. That's violet red, that's not red.
If you could pick one dinosaur to have as a pet, what would you pick?
A dinosaur to have as a pet? I assume you mean like a non-avian extinct dinosaur?
Yeah.
Okay, oh, that's a good question. Maybe it would have to be something small and easy to care for.
I don't know, maybe we should just consult Paleo Pines on who would be best, or which dinosaur would actually be best.
I think I'd go with like Tianulong, or I guess I could do Psittacosaurus.
Oh, move your phone up a bit. It's showing up in the wide shot.
Move my phone up a bit?
This way, towards me. A little more. There.
Oh, I see what you mean.
You were concerned about the photos.
I am well, in that, if they're seeing it in this shot, they've kind of earned their copyright infringement, but...
Fair enough.
What was I doing?
We're talking about which dinosaur you keep as a pet.
Yeah. Anything that could subsist on vegetation alone would probably be first draft. Although, I don't know, if a I imagine that some theropods could survive on, like, some kind of dog food type food. So maybe there are options there, I'm not sure. On the other hand, I don't know, my sister had a bird and I wound up being the one to care for it because that's how pets worked in our house. And I didn't like it too much. So I don't know if I would necessarily want a dinosaur as a pet. I would definitely want a dinosaur as a pet. If I could have a theropod, I think I'd want a Microraptor, just because that would be cool.
John asks, if you could have dinner or drinks with any paleontologist past or present, who would it be and why?
Dinner? Can I be one of the guys eating in the Iguanodon at the Crystal Palace? Can I go to that specific dinner?
And just anyone who ended up there.
I don't even know who was at that one, but I just want to eat inside a giant Iguanodon.
Someone asks, have you seen the more accurate prehistoric life models?
More accurate prehistoric life models, what?
I assume that's a brand, Prehistoric Life.
I'm afraid I have not, sorry.
Oops, wow. YouTube chat just threw a wobbly. I have to find my place again.
Okay.
And I should probably switch so they can see you coloring. Do you have any of the Walking with Dinosaur toys, and would you ever review those or use them in a Your Dinosaurs Are Wrong episode?
If we had them, we would use them. I don't think we do, though. I believe the Leoplorodon we have looks like the Leoplorodon from Walking with Dinosaurs, if that counts. I think that might just be because it's a Leoplorodon and that coloration is popular for it. It might be a complete coincidence. No.
Who do you think would be the true apex predator of the Morrison Formation, Torvosaurus or Saurophaganax?
Saurophaganax. I don't know too much about Torvosaurus is the problem with trying to answer that question. Instinctively, I would say Saurophaganax, but, like, it's possible that those are just big Allosaurus, isn't it? Which would mean that Allosaurus is the apex predator.
Rafid asks, what about the dinosaurs from Pixar's The Good Dinosaur?
I really do not like The Good Dinosaur. I wanted to like The Good Dinosaur. I saw The Good Dinosaur in theaters. I chose to see The Good Dinosaur in theaters instead of watching the Peanuts movie in theaters, and I love Peanuts. And aside from the short that was in front of it, what was it called? Sanjay's Super Team, I think is what it was called. That short was wonderful. I wish they'd made the movie about that and made the short about the dinosaurs. That would have been better. There was enough content in The Good Dinosaur for a short.
Richard asks, your Therizinosaurus has a fourth toe on the ground. Did they have that?
Oh, that's not a fourth toe. Wait, is it a fourth toe? This is not a fourth toe. That's the back of the foot. That, I believe, is a fourth toe, and I think they did? If not, I need to revise that. I'm trying to think. I want to say they did, but now I'm not so sure. Therizinosaurs are already so weird, I wouldn't even be surprised.
Icy Halo asks, besides Spinosaurus, what is your favorite Spinosaurid?
My favorite Spinosaurid besides Spinosaurus?
Mm-hmm.
That's not fair. That's another vanilla answer. Baryonyx. Although I am quite fond of Ichthyovenator.
Apologies if you're only getting audio in one ear or on the left side, guys. It's just what we have to work with today.
Oh, that's weird. I wonder if it's pulling audio from this camera, because they do have two mics. Oh. Because they do have two mics, so it's possible that it's picking me up really loud in this mic and really soft in this mic, and that's why.
Maybe.
I hadn't thought of that.
It did get randomly set as camera 1.
Well, I'm watching the levels bounce, and the levels in OBS are what you'd expect.
Yeah. But we apologize, and since we may do this again, since it's pretty popular looking right now, we'll troubleshoot it for the next time.
Yeah, that's really surprising, because we've never used two cameras, which is probably what's throwing it off.
Yeah.
Now that I'm thinking about it.
But let's see. If you got to name, William asks, if you got to name a species of dinosaur and its monotypic genus, what would it be?
If I got to name a dinosaur, what would I name it?
Also, has anyone ever been uncouth and named a species after themselves, to your knowledge?
Has anyone ever named a species after themselves? Yeah. Although I wouldn't characterize that as uncouth. I think that's just, I mean,
That's how it goes.
If you did the work, I feel like you get to do that. Although, okay, that just changes the question. Was someone ever uncouth by naming a dinosaur after themselves? That, I want to say, is correct, because that would imply that either they were taking credit for something that they shouldn't have been taking credit for, or they were not doing the work properly. And especially in the 19th century, with a pair of bone hunters named Marsh and Cope, I would not be at all surprised if some of their discoveries were not so much theirs. But what would I name a dinosaur? That's a hard one.
Probably depend on what dinosaur characteristics it had.
Well, yeah, but like if I could, you know, if I could make my Dracorex Hogwartsia or my Thanos, you know, like if I could make if I could name a dinosaur whatever I wanted, what would I name it? That's I'd probably go for a Tolkien reference of some kind.
Harold and Alexander ask, have you done any field work, and if so, where?
Have I done any field work? No, I am not a paleontologist. I'm just an enthusiast.
We almost got to go to Utah once, but that
yeah, we almost had a chance to do some, or at least go there and document some. I don't know how much I would have been helping.
Jonathan asks, which dinosaur documentary is your favorite?
Which dinosaur documentary is my favorite? I really like the behind the scenes of the Walking with Dinosaurs special. That was really informative. But which dinosaur documentary is my favorite? I don't watch that many is the problem. I kind of get enough of that during the day job, you know? Which dinosaur documentary is my favorite? Like, obviously I really loved Walking with Dinosaurs, but I don't know if I would call it my favorite anymore. It's a little... Nah. I mean, the score absolutely still holds up. I listen to the score all the time. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to say Walking with Dinosaurs. Y'all can live with it.
Lone Wolf Drawings asks, would you ever consider looking at dinosaurs from games like Ark for your series?
Yeah.
We are.
That was a short answer.
Yeah. We are playing with the idea of doing a streaming style setup for things like games, because we have been asked quite a bit.
Yeah.
To do that.
We feel like there's probably an audience for that kind of thing.
That being said, it probably won't happen for a little while because we do need to build a rig specifically for streaming to make that happen. And we've set some money aside to afford the parts we...
If you can't tell from our audio issues that we're apparently having, we don't have the most professional of streaming setups. All of our tech is geared towards...
So we're saving up a bit each month from things like Patreon and that... but it's going to be at least $500-600 to build a rig. Well, to get parts for a rig that we don't already have, because there's a lot of parts from an older computer of mine that we would be using. But I don't trust things from it for this application, like the motherboard and processor and stuff like that. So, yeah, we're just saving up for it at the moment.
I don't know. Yeah, you don't necessarily have to play the game to talk about the design of the creatures in it, but I feel like it would help. If only because, especially for 3D games, you want to be able to like move around and look at them, as opposed to just going off of like screenshots or other people's videos.
Yeah. Richard asks, is the episode about the Bone Wars still an option?
Yeah, we were just talking about this actually. Now that Velociraptor, the bloated giant video that it became, is done, we want to be much more focused in the future, which means that tangents like talking about the Bone Wars actually get to be their own episode or whatever. I'm trying to think of what color I want to use for large portions of this guy. I think I want to use red here. But yeah, I fully intend to finally do an episode about the Bone Wars.
Of all the common mistakes, sorry, I thought I skipped the line. Of all the common mistakes in dinosaur reconstructions found on the mainstream media, which bothers you the most?
What bothers me the most? Bad feathers. Because it's like, oh, you're trying, but you're so close, and also this looks terrible. Like the tarred and feathered look on theropods, or how sometimes it'll just kind of look like they met a cassowary halfway. That, it's not even that it makes me mad or anything, it's just like you tried and you still fell short, and it's like I'm not mad, I'm disappointed.
Hi asks, what's your favorite upcoming Paleo game, such as Path of Titans, Paleo Pines, Prehistoric Kingdom, etc.?
I mean, Paleo Pines is adorable, so I feel like I have to say that. I don't closely follow the development of any of them, is the problem with trying to answer that. Everything that Paleopines posts is adorable, so like that brings me joy on a consistent basis, so I feel like that has to be my answer.
Yeah, you're not much of a dinosaur video game guy.
That's true. Like, I play video games a fair amount, but I don't actually play dinosaur video games very much. Maybe it's that thing again, I get enough of it during the day job.
T-Scream80 asks, I might have missed
Hi,
this.
T-Scream.
I might have missed this in the Discord conversation, but what are your thoughts on Oculodentavis? Is that how it's pronounced?
Oculodentavis, yeah.
Okay.
So, for those who have not been following the drama, there's a new skull that's been described that's from China. Well, okay, it's from Myanmar, Burmese amber. The skull itself was described as a dinosaur skull, and if so, it would be the smallest. Yeah, I believe it would be the smallest known dinosaur, because it's about the size of a hummingbird. The problem is, the skull might not actually be from a dinosaur. It's come under criticism for two reasons. One, even though, broadly speaking, it looks like an avian skull, like it has the shape that you would expect an avian skull to have, as soon as you dive in deeper and look at, does it have socketed teeth? What do the sclerotic bones in the scleral ring look like? What do the holes in the skull look like? There's blog posts about, actually there's a preprint article about this now, about all of the features that it has that say it's clearly not a theropod. It looks more like a lizard skull, is the upshot of this. So that's one part of the controversy. The other part is that amber itself from that part of Myanmar is fraught. There's human rights abuses associated with mining for amber in that area. Forced labor and child laborers. And if you buy amber from there, it's probably supporting some not very nice groups of people. So people much smarter than me, like Dr. Witten has a blog post about this. People much smarter than me have pointed out how we probably can't ethically use material that's recovered this way. And also, material that's recovered this way, it's the same problem that we usually have with like private collectors, where the provenance isn't that well established. So there's even like scientific problems with using it, in addition to the ethical problems with using it. Like, now that it's described, it's not like we can undescribe it. There's no, it's part of our scientific knowledge now, and so now we just have to, engage with the fact of its existence. Like, it's not the lizard's fault that all of this happened around it. It just died and got its skull encased in amber. But science is done by people, and sometimes the people are not as scrupulous as we would like.
Let's see. Are you a fan? Marcus asks, "Are you a fan of Ray Harryhausen's work?"
Yeah. Another short answer: yes. Ray Harryhausen is of significant importance to the history of animation. And the history of public perception of dinosaurs, one imagines.
What is your favorite dinosaur in the Brachiosaurus family?
My favorite macronarian? Does Camarasaurus count? Because if so, Camarasaurus. If not, Are the Lonkosaurs still considered macronarians, or would they be like a more distantly related group?
Oh wait, if you're done. Show
Oh,
me.
yeah. Here's a Velociraptor.
I do not.
It's got black and white feathers around it. I guess this is like partially leucistic or something. Most birds don't have this kind of coloration, but it kind of looks like a clown, and I'm happy with that.
Since we're at a good spot to address it, Everett asked, "Hey Liz, how's Bertrand's set coming along?"
Oh,
We can show you.
we can.
We're going to have a blog detailing what I've been doing with it coming out soon, or at least what I've been doing to finish it. But Steven can turn his camera here,
Meow.
and that's his set. He's still on the table because I'm not done getting shots yet. But
Look at these tiny books.
they're legitimately little paper books. I think they're 1 inch by 3/4 inch. But his study is now as done as it's going to get for what we need to do with him. You can see we repurposed the little Tinosaurus Velociraptor in the glass dome there. Like, I stuck legs to its bottom.
That looks really nice. It looks like it's intended as a table.
And I filled it with a bunch of old stuff, like the skulls on the bookcase and that as well, that I found in a bunch of our stuff. So I didn't have to buy too much stuff that we didn't already have. I think the only things I bought were the legs to stick on the tables, and then the turkey and the tea set there. Everything else we already had in some form. But yeah, I made 41 tiny books just so he had real looking books in his study. Also because Michigan is currently under a stay-at-home order, so I didn't want to go to the craft store to make them out of like clay or something instead. But yeah, that's Bertrand's set right now.
I suppose I could put the camera back. Oh.
Stand by.
I don't 100% remember where it was, so I'm just gonna look. And
That's about right. Also, Everett asked, and for Steven, how's the voice acting? Looking forward to the release of the next episode as I'm drawing Velociraptor right now.
I'm going to point out that Everett asked permission to draw Velociraptor doing this.
Aw.
So, anyway, we have not recorded it yet, but we will do that, provided I don't destroy my voice doing this. We will do that soon.
Well, Bertrand has a bit of a raspy voice anyway,
That's true. Maybe it would help if my throat is raw.
as you try to fake a British accent.
Mm.
Louis asks, what's the toy next to the retro Allosaurus and Safari limited feather T-Rex?
Oh, this one?
I assume so.
I think it's supposed to be a, Well, I was gonna say it's Centrosaurus, but it's weird. So now I'm not so sure. Like, having that big unified boss over both brows, I'm not actually sure what that's supposed to be. Oh, oh.
Here, I can change it.
If the person who sent this in is watching, what is this supposed to be?
The Hybrid 316 asked, do you guys like Tier Zoo?
Do we like Tier Zoo?
I think I've watched one episode about geese, and I enjoyed it, but that's all I can say about it.
Yeah, I don't watch it very much. It's
Go ahead.
It's definitely a unique angle to approach biology from.
You guys should check out Benji Thomas's YouTube channel for a review on Walking with Dinosaurs. Okay. I know they're following us and we're following them, but I haven't had time to just sit down and see what other paleontology creators have been doing the last couple months. Harold and Alexander would like to know why you think a T-Rex had feathers even though they couldn't fly.
Well, Harold and Alexander, feathers first evolved for a reason that had nothing to do with flight. It was only in a very specific group of Coelurosaurian theropods that, when they started to glide or fly, that they were even able to use the feathers that they already had for that other purpose. Now, as far as what that other purpose was, there's debate, but some kind of thermoregulatory function, some kind of keeping the animal warm or keeping the animal cool function seems to be what they were originally for. Now, you might say, hey, Tyrannosaurus is really big. Why would it need thermoregulation? Why would it need to keep warm? It probably wouldn't have a problem with that. Elephants don't have hair. I mean, they do, but they don't have fur all over their bodies like a woolly mammoth would. And there's definitely some workers that would agree with you on that one. Time will tell.
William asks, have there been any recent insights that make the origin of pterosaurs significantly more clear?
I feel like if there had been, we would have heard about it. Like, you wouldn't be learning about it from me, because I'm one of the last people to learn about any new discoveries. I'm not that great at following the paleo news. But I have not heard anything, for whatever that's worth.
YouTube, stop that. How did Mamenchisaurus support its absurdly disproportionately long neck?
That is an excellent question. The support of sauropod necks is a debated topic, or at least there's been a lot of research on it. I don't have citations handy, but there were a couple of people who did what is possibly my it's my second or third favorite experiment in paleontology. My favorite experiment is those people who put an elephant on a scale. And then what's his face? Robert Backer video recorded or filmed some reptiles and mammals on a treadmill, which is also amusing. But these people built a mock-up of a sauropod neck out of some kind of foam and used balloons to test whether the air sac system in the neck of a sauropod would contribute to supporting it. Like, it's pretty well agreed upon that the air sac system, the pneumaticization of the neck bones in sauropods, of the vertebrae, would make the skeleton lighter for its size. It would allow them to grow bigger without adding a whole bunch of weight, which means that a sauropod neck is lighter than a giraffe's neck would be if you scaled up a giraffe to sauropod size or whatever. But does that mean then that the air sacs were pressurized enough to also, like, when you blow up a balloon, you can like sit on the balloon and it will support you a little bit? Were the air sacs acting like cushions in that regard? Unclear. If the neck's soft tissues were arranged in such a way that they were working together with the air sacs, then yes. But as it is, unclear, because we don't really know how pressurized those air sacs would even be, because we don't have, a complete, like, ideally we would have like a completely preserved internal organ arrangement for a sauropod, but we don't. Anyway, that's just the air sac system. There's also bands of ligaments along the top of the spine, which sort of like a cantilevered bridge, or like even like a suspension bridge, kind of, would keep the neck from falling down. Like there's tension there. And then on the bottom of the neck, you have, especially on Mamenchisaurus, you would have these very long cervical vertebrae, which are they look like handlebars, and they essentially are handlebars. They provide anchor points for muscles so that the muscles can be back towards the center of mass of the creature, whereas the neck can be way out there. It's like a if you ever played with this used to be a toy that you could have where it extends your hand, and like you pull on a thing and it pulls on the thing up there, and they're just a series of levers to make a puppet hand move out here. It's sort of like that.
A couple people have asked, have you seen Sophie the Stego in person?
Have I seen Sophie the Stego in person? No. I'm pretty sure that specimen is in London?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never been to England.
We would like to get to, international museums someday, but that's a ways away.
Plus, we can't go to Europe at all now.
Yeah. Heck, we'd like to do some sort of series on museums in general someday, and that's a ways away.
That would be nice.
Like, just ones in our backyard, it would be a bit much to try and do for now.
I need to read that paper. There's a paper that just came out about, like, using museum mounts for biomechanical analysis. Mm-hmm. And the abstract sounded really interesting, but I didn't read the paper.
You should send it to me later, because that does sound interesting. RMM Productions asks, what's your opinion on the new dromaeosaur and dinosaur Dinobeliator? Dinobeliator?
Looks cool. It's a Velociraptor relative, so kind of annoyed that came out right before we're going to release an episode on Velociraptor, because otherwise I could have mentioned it. but it's okay. It's got quill knobs.
Do you believe...
Oh.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say just more dromaeosaurs with quill knobs is good. Just pile on that evidence for feathers for the doubters.
Do you believe Spinosaurs were quadrupedal or bipedal now? The study from 2014 seems to be debated a lot, and I have settled on Spino being bipedal in my opinion.
2014 study is somewhat debated, but I don't know. It makes sense that they could knuckle walk if they had to. It would not surprise me to learn that they were exclusively bipedal, simply because, it's a bipedal clade. But I don't think we should be so dismissive out of hand of a dinosaur losing its bipedalism, because, sauropods lost their bipedal stance. Ornithopods lost their bipedal stance. Ceratopsids lost their bipedal stance. It happens in dinosaurs.
What's your... Oh, wow.
The
word.
Oh.
What is your favorite
Carcharodontosaur?
Oh my gosh, yes. Excluding the saurus of that, or Acrocanthosaurus.
Acrocanthosaurus was going to be my answer, so now you're just putting me on the spot, because I don't think I can name another Carcharodontosaur. Is Bahariosaurus a Carcharodontosaur? Because if so, that's the only other one I can name, so I have to say that one. Sorry. I'm not good at it. Is Giganotosaurus a Carcharodontosaur? I don't think it is. Extremely narrow questions. We're getting... What's your favorite unenlagine? Frickin'...
Don't give us basic answers.
What's your favorite Halscaraptorian that isn't Halscaraptor?
I think they all just want you to be so into dinosaurs that it's never...
That I have a prepared response for all of it. I'm
well,
the
that's never going to be
dinosaurs.
the most vanilla answer.
My favorite dinosaur generally trends toward whatever the best known of a particular group is, which tends to also be the most popular of that group anyway.
Someone is wondering if you have ever seen Black Beauty in the Tyrrell Museum, the Royal Tyrrell Museum.
Oh, that's also on my list of museums to go to, but no, I have not seen it. I mean, I've seen photos, but I've never seen it in person. That's a beautiful specimen, though. Hence the name.
The coloring pages look great. Are there going to be more dinosaurs added?
Yes, and we're going to revise the ones we have. And I've been thinking about this, especially on animals like Deinonychus and Therizinosaurus. We should release coloring pages where, parts of the outline are missing. And you can fill that in for yourself. Because, we don't know how much the feathers on the body of Deinonychus would have modified the contour of the animal. We don't know whether they would have had, fleshy structures on the head. We don't even necessarily know how long their primary feathers would be. Why don't we leave that up to that probably wouldn't leave a whole lot of lines to go off of now that I'm saying all of that, but we could leave some stuff open-ended on these. Just realized I forgot to color. That's a way better brown than brown. Oh, wait, what? What brown was I using? Oh, I was using sepia, whereas this one is brown.
T-screen joke. What's your favorite saber-toothed cat other than Smilodon?
My favorite saber-toothed cat other than Smilodon? I don't think I can think of another one.
That's the joke.
What's the one with the weird chin? That one. I can't remember its name. It's going to turn out that's not even a saber-toothed cat. It's like a marsupial or something.
What do you think?
Frickin' mammals.
What do you think of the exhibit Victoria the T-Rex? Have you heard of it? Do you wish to see the specimen someday?
I don't have an opinion. I'm not... I have heard of Victoria the T-Rex, but I have not seen photographs or anything. I don't know what it is. Sorry.
A couple of people have asked, what's your opinion of the game Saurian?
Saurian looks cool. Not a kind of game I play is the problem, so I don't know, like, if we wind up doing video game streams talking about dinosaurs, of course we're going to have to talk about Saurian eventually, but I admire their what do you call it? I admire their philosophy. Like, they are setting out to have the most accurate dinosaurs possible, and that is admirable. Like, if you've seen, they publish breakdowns of their reasoning for a lot of stuff. Like, they have a guide for how their Tyrannosaurus was assembled that's really comprehensive, and I love it. Even though I don't always understand some of the decisions they make, but that's okay. It's their game. But I admire their approach, because I do think that just having the option of having accurate dinosaurs in a video game is going to do a lot for science communication. But I don't know. Is the gameplay engaging enough to be, like, that's the end of the day. If you can have the most accurate game in the world, but it's also got to be fun to play. So, yeah, that's game design first, design a dinosaur second, unfortunately, would be my opinion on Saurian.
What do you believe Stegosaurus and other Stegosaurids backplates were used for?
What do I believe that Stegosaurus or Stegosaurids backplates were used for? It's primarily for display. The Stegosaurus in particular, I believe we have evidence that they at least occasionally would get bit there. Like, we have bite marks that would match an Allosaurus that are into a Stegosaurus's plates, so they clearly worked for a defensive purpose, but I feel like you don't have to go this far with it. If it's just for defense, you could get by with a more ankylosaurian sort of armor, or just a more understated armor like other Stegosaurs had. So I think they had a defensive purpose, but once they get this exaggeratedly large, that's not their primary function anymore. It's mostly just looking good at that point.
Tim asks, what's your opinion on the Chickensaurus project Jack Horner and his team are researching?
Oh, yeah. I haven't heard about anything. I haven't heard anything about that recently. What's going on with the Chickensaurus project? I don't know. I mean, it's a cool idea. I don't entirely think that it's the best use of resources. I don't know. How much can we learn from a Chickensaurus, I guess, would be my question. Because it's an animal that we made, so how much does it actually tell us about how dinosaurs lived, would be my question. I'm sure that scientists who are cleverer than me work on that anyway, so I'm sure they have answers to that. But that's my initial reaction. And I would absolutely go, like, pet one if they did make a Chickensaurus, just saying.
Breezy asked, do you know much about Chasmosaurus urbanensis? Me and my family live in the small town it was discovered in, and I'd love to make an accurate model of it.
Oh, cool. I don't know a ton about Chasmosaurus. I think we have one, so we're gonna do an episode on one eventually. That's got to be so cool to live in an area where dinosaurs get dug up. We don't have dinosaurs in Michigan.
We have mastodons.
Yeah, we have a mastodon that they dug up over on the west side of the state.
Are you planning on doing a third fan mail video?
Yes.
We plan on doing it in the next couple weeks, actually. We have enough to do one.
Yeah.
We'll do those as long as people send things.
Oh, yeah.
We don't set specific dates for them because we don't know when we'll get stuff, and we don't want to, like, pressure people to have things sent in by, like, a deadline or something, because that'd be kind of a mean thing to do.
This is true. Although I like the idea that somebody would be like, they're going to do a mailbag on June 5th. I got to postmark this by May 31st. And it's like, no, there's not that much pressure. We're not going to be able to make an episode about it very quickly anyway.
Let's see. T-Scream asked whether or not we get sea reptiles in Michigan as far as fossils go.
Good question. I don't know.
I haven't heard of any. We get Petoskey stones, which is coral.
I wouldn't be surprised, but I can't think of any off of the top of my head. Because we were under a seaway. The problem is rock from that period. We don't have a lot of rock from that period. We have some Cretaceous rock in, like... Oh.
Go ahead.
We have some Cretaceous rock, like, up here. But I think that's it.
Kind of to that point, Earl asked, we don't get them here in Michigan because we're some sort of shallow sea, right?
Correct. The Tethys Sea. Or wait, is that the Tethys Sea? The Western Interior Seaway, which may or may not be the Tethys Sea.
Slapperfish asks, if the non-avian dinosaurs hadn't died out, do you think humans could still have evolved alongside them?
Oh. Going, what did you call this? Going alt history up in here. See, the problem is I don't know too much about early human evolution. I know that primates seem to have diverged from the rest of the mammals right around the Cretaceous extinction. So we would still have primates. Good question.
The safe answer may be, I don't know.
Well, of course I don't know. It didn't happen, therefore nobody knows. But I don't think it would be impossible. Like, humans emerged in a world filled with megafauna. So, would it have really mattered to us whether that megafauna was saurian or mammalian? I don't know.
Asks, what's a good comparative anatomy textbook?
A good comparative anatomy textbook. We have a book list on the Discord server. I would direct you to that. Comparative anatomy textbook. Like for dinosaurs generally, I mean the Dinosauria is still in print. I like Dinosaur Paleobiology by Stephen Broussat, but that's not specifically about, I mean, it includes a lot of comparative anatomy, obviously, but it's not exclusively about comparative anatomy.
There's a few people pointing out that Tethys might have been in Europe.
Oh, okay. See, I was wrong.
Happens.
Happens really often, despite my on-screen persona.
Shaden, sorry if I didn't pronounce it correctly, asked, do you plan on doing an episode on another Spinosaur such as Baryonyx?
We have one. We have a Baryonyx, we have a Suchomimus, I think we have an Irritator. Irritator at Spinosaurus. Anyway, we have more toys of those, so yes. As far as when those will be, again, it's up to the patrons.
William asks, mundane question, but what's your favorite food?
What's my favorite food?
Oh, I'm sorry, Zoom. I just made the dog.
Oh, he knows the word food, and now I keep saying it.
Oh, hi, buddy. It's not that time yet. I'm sorry.
He's really excited.
Oh, no, go lay down. I'm sorry. Oh, don't give me that look. He just gave me the most betrayed look. Anyway, back to the point.
My favorite food.
I know we keep saying it. I'm sorry. Hi.
I don't know. I like spoon cornbread. Favorite food. I don't think about such things. I'm not picky. I eat almost anything.
So you are way more of a food is energy guy than a...
Yeah, I'm basically the dad from Ratatouille. Food is fuel. Not that I don't enjoy food, but like I enjoy most foods.
Dino Man asks, when you made the first Your Dinosaurs Are Wrong video, did you ever think it would have gone on this long and be this big of a thing?
We 100% did not think it would catch on at all. We did it as almost a joke.
Almost, yeah.
Well, I think I've mentioned this before, but Miss Liz pointed a camera at me and said to talk about dinosaurs because I kept doing that behind the scenes while making other videos. Like we had these toy dinosaurs sitting around the lab, and I would pick one up at random intervals and be like, this is wrong. This is just an iguana head on a kangaroo body with scales. This isn't a real dinosaur. But apparently, there's an audience for that kind of thing. Oh, that's a good dinosaur. PCL XL error. That must be a new genre.
And,
Genius.
well, the first episode we ever shot was also a fundraiser reward.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Because people who are fans of the non-profit we worked at together already knew about Steven's toy criticisms behind the scenes.
That's right.
So, as a reward for a fundraiser they did at one point, we shot a really short episode because we didn't want to make them wait too long, essentially, for it.
Also, I didn't know that much about Solidosaurus.
Yes.
Still don't.
So, yeah, it was mostly an in-joke, like not even a joke, really. It was something we thought that only people who were watching would get, and then suddenly I looked one day and that video had 5,000 hits. And we were like, oh, maybe we should do more of this. And 5,000 in the short amount of time that it had been up was actually a lot for us then.
So thanks for watching.
Daniel asks, which period of the Mesozoic is your favorite?
Favorite period of the Mesozoic? Again, not fair. I like the Campanian. I don't know. I would be hard pressed to pick a favorite. I like the Maastrichtian. I guess if pressed, the late Cretaceous is the most interesting because the animals, like you have this mixture of animals where you've got, inornithine birds, which are just like normal birds, but they have teeth and claws. You've got a lot of animals in the late Cretaceous that are like modern animals with the knobs twisted a little bit, and that's really interesting, especially since they're living alongside the most famous dinosaurs that have ever lived. The climate is starting to look really familiar. We have snow at the poles and everything. I guess I would have to say late Cretaceous.
T-Scream asks...
There's flowers.
T-Scream asks, I may have asked before, but do you have plans to do a Megalosaurus episode?
We have some Megalosaurus toys, and Megalosaurus is one of the, sort of core dinosaurs.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have to say yeah.
Luke, I think. Luce? I think it's Luke. Who is, in your opinion, the winner of the Bone Wars, Cope or Marsh? I think you have to define winner.
Well, yeah.
Terms.
The winner, they were competing to essentially name more genre than the other. I keep wanting to say it as genre, even though I know that's not right. I think that answer has to wait for the episode, because off the top of my head, I'm not sure. Because is the winner the one who named more genera at the time, or is it the one whose work has stood the test of time better? Because those might not be the same person. Then again, they might be the same person. I'm not actually that sure. Sorry, I don't have an answer for you at this time.
Let's see. Let me thank you for making the first up-to-date Stegosaurus video since Sophie's paper. Thanks to you, I could understand more about the changes and that tail tip pointing downward.
Oh, you're welcome. I want to do more like that. Updating our old videos or just reporting on new research.
Yeah, we are going to come up with a plan of attack in the future so that we can do more stuff like that because...
And at least get it out, when it's timely.
Yeah, a lot of our videos are so out of date with nothing addressing it since YouTube took annotations away. It's slightly embarrassing to me, at least.
Yeah. Well, also there's the issue, friggin' research came out about Velociraptor and their relatives that's relevant to the Velociraptor video in between us shooting the video and me finishing animation on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I put little notations in there about hey, check this out. I know I didn't mention it because it didn't exist yet, but check this out. So if we could get a more rapid turnaround, I feel like that issue would resolve itself.
Yep. And we're figuring that out. There's going to be some bumps along the way, but we'll get there. Which episode are you most proud of?
Well, obviously Velociraptor, not that you've seen it yet. I really like how Archaeopteryx turned out.
Speaking of Spinosaurus, opinions on the buoyancy study.
I have not read it, actually. I keep meaning to, but other things keep taking precedence. Since the basic argument seems to be they were too dense to be able to swim, I would point out that hippos are too dense to swim and are quite aquatic. So that don't prove nothing.
Leo Cario asks, are you of the mindset that paleo art should be conservative with speculation left to the imagination of the viewer, or trying to capture the impossible by being outlandishly speculative?
I wouldn't say outlandishly speculative. I think as long as what you're drawing is not directly contradicted by the fossil evidence, go nuts. There's a school of thought that if there isn't evidence, what's a good example? I really like it when people put little bristly feathers around the eyes and nose of dinosaurs, sort of like whiskers. There's no evidence that such a thing would occur in a dinosaur, but it's not unreasonable. Dino fuzz is known from a huge swath of the dinosaur family tree, so it's not impossible that they would have had eyelashes or whatever. But then there's other people who say no, you shouldn't be that irresponsible with it, and I don't see it as irresponsible, personally.
Dinobot65 asks, have you heard of that paper that states that Allosaurus isn't part of the species Fragilis and is in fact part of a new species?
What? No, I don't think I have seen that. When was this? Wait, are you talking... Is that new paper that came out a couple of months ago? The one with the knives on its head? They aren't literally knives, but it has much larger crests than other Allosaurus did. Or other Allosaurids? Is it Allosaurids or Allosauroids? I don't remember.
Bruno asks, what do you think the most interesting dinosaur from Argentina is?
Most interesting dinosaur from Argentina? I mean, Patagotitan is cool, but, most interesting dinosaur from Argentina? Probably Carnotaurus? I'm going to say Carnotaurus. Just because it's a different sort of theropod than you were seeing in the north at that time.
Nathan asked, did dinosaurs have seasonally changing coats, and how does that evolve? Has there been research on that, or speculation?
That feels like something that somebody would have had art of. I have never looked into that. That's an excellent question. Do birds have summer and winter coloration? Does that happen? I know they can molt. Yeah, I'm completely unprepared to answer that question. I don't know.
Occasional Art asks, what episode of Your Dinosaurs Are Wrong would you say is your least favorite?
Least favorite? I mean... Objectively, Dimetrodon is the weakest episode. But least favorite... Probably Solidosaurus. That's the one that I am really itching to get back and do a proper episode on.
Have you heard of Beasts of the Mesozoic from Creative Beast Studio? The team are trying to make awesome, detailed, close to accurate dinosaurs.
Have indeed.
I don't think we've ever gotten toys.
No, we have not received any
of that brand.
They're pretty pricey, so I don't blame anyone for not wanting to send those in when you're not going to get it back in a hurry.
Yeah, don't go above and beyond and send us something like that.
I wonder if I could write to them and be like, hey, can we borrow one?
Well, no's are free.
Yeah, that's like Saurian. Like, they're taking it seriously, and I admire that. I'm going to make this one's feet blue. There's no reason to make this one's feet blue, but I'm going to do it. And you're all along for the ride.
Ptarmigans apparently have seasonal coats as well as grouses, but there's no direct evidence of seasonal color changing in Mesozoic dinosaurs yet.
Well, I would expect that there's no direct evidence. We only have direct evidence of some of their colors, and that's really recent. Also, how would we even tell? I guess we would have to look at the isotopes of the pigment organelles? I don't know. I mean, paleontologists are clever, so I'm sure they could find a way to test for that if it were possible to test for that.
Do you think Herrerasaurus is a dinosaur or not? I've heard from many people it's not, but there isn't clear answers on it, says Jack.
I mean, you're kind of splitting hairs at that point, but, well, that was a glib answer, but it's also kind of true. Like, there's a lot of very dinosaur-like animals in the Triassic that are not technically dinosaurs, because dinosaur is defined as, the most recent common ancestor of, what is it right now, Triceratops and sparrows, and all of that animal's descendants. Like, how much does it affect our understanding of Herrerasaurus, whether it's a dinosaur or a dinosauromorph or a dinosauriform or whatever? Like, that question is more important for understanding Dinosauria as a whole than it is for understanding Herrerasaurus itself.
Diego asks, what are your thoughts about that new dinosaur documentary called Amazing Dino World?
Amazing Dino World. Is that the Japanese one?
I am unsure, personally.
Is that the one with the really fluffy Deinonychus in it? There's a really long delay on the stream, so me responding to that is probably going to result in some dead air here for a little while.
Evan asks, how do you research for and write an episode? Do you write something from memory, then adjust it to research, or research first before even looking at the toy?
So, you may have noticed that I'm answering a lot of questions here with I don't recall or I'm not sure. My memory is not that good. So, no, I don't write hardly anything from memory. Like, I can remember, like, a line of research that I should look at, but I never remember specifics. I always have to start with, okay, what even is the state of research about this creature? One thing I have been doing more recently, like as of, I think I did it for, I definitely did it for Styracosaurus. I think I did it for Archaeopteryx as well. I try to arrange the parts of my research into modules and move the modules around in the document as I go, and try to plan the episode even at that early stage, even while I'm still just writing notes and not even worried about how I'm going to present the information. So that might answer your question. Disjointedly is how I would characterize my research process.
Let's see. What is your favorite pterosaur and why?
Favorite pterosaur and why? I think we already got Rhamphorhynchus in there. Because it's weird looking. It's got those teeth and that tail. And it's way bigger than you expect it to be looking at it.
What do you think of the idea of yellow beaks on non-avian dinosaurs?
Yellow beaks on non-avian dinosaurs. I don't think it's doing any harm, but it's... I talk about this a bit in Velociraptor. We have a tendency to, like, maybe overemphasize the birdiness of the most bird-like theropods, and that might be doing a little bit of harm, because, like, now you've got it, oh, it's basically a bird, but, you know, it's still a dinosaur too, and we shouldn't, like, you definitely shouldn't imply that there was a Rhamphorhynchus, you know, a beak on there, unless there was, in which case, of course, show that. Like, if it has a beak and you want to make that beak yellow, cool, but, like, not even among living birds, not all beaks are yellow. I'm not even sure most beaks are yellow. How are we doing on time?
We have time for this last one, I think.
Okay.
We're about little under 20 minutes from 5 o'clock.
Took me a long time to get the time up on my phone because it just wanted me to keep looking at the picture of the bird, which I don't mind. I like looking at pictures of birds.
Richard asks, wait, are sauropods not considered dinosaurs anymore, as theropods are now considered ornithoskeletons?
Oh, well, that was the issue with the 2017 paper. If you define dinosaurs using the most recent common ancestor of sparrows and triceratops, then yeah, if sauropods are outside of that group, then they wouldn't be dinosaurs. That's why that paper also defined dinosaur to mean something else that would include sauropods. That's I mean, it's a technical question. Everybody knows what a dinosaur is. It's essentially avometatarsalia that are closer to birds than to pterosaurs, more or less. But I mean that excludes like dinosauromorphs. Like there are stem dinosaurs that don't fit into that casual definition. But like to an extent, dinosaur is such a well-established term that if the phylogeny shakes up as much as the 2017 paper would shake it, they have to redefine dinosaur at the same time because otherwise, dinosaur becomes meaningless. Which was the issue that I had that a lot of people had with how they define Saurischia in that. Because it means you can't take a term that has a really well-established meaning and say that it implies to a different group. That's irresponsible. You're supposed to get rid of the term if it's no longer useful, not apply it to something new. Pardon. You know what I should have brought? Water.
You want me to go get some?
No, it's okay. 20 minutes is not that long.
Would you like to animate a children's TV program about dinosaurs so the new generation of enthusiasts grow up with more correct appearance?
Isn't that what we do?
Well, we're not specifically for kids.
That's true. Kind of all ages. I don't know. If I was just doing the animation, yes. I don't think I could write a show for kids. I don't have a teaching degree. Like, educating little kids is like the hardest form of education. I don't think I could write an episode that was targeted at that audience, but I could definitely animate one.
Deinonychus expands. The Ornitholita paper changed the definition of dinosaur to include the last common ancestor of Passer, Triceratops, and Diplodocus, and all of its descendants, so they keep sauropods as dinosaurs. Dinobot65 asked, do you think the reason for there being so much ceratopsian diversity in the late Cretaceous could be due to potential hybridization between different species to create new ones?
I was just thinking about that. I was thinking about that a number of months ago because I found out there was a hybrid whale. There was a family of hybrid whales. They were half narwhal, half something else. And their skulls, like, if you had found a skull of one of these buried in the rock, you would think that you had found the common ancestor of these two different genuses of whale, or there might have been species. No, I think they were separate genuses, which is weird. If there was hybridization going on, it had to be so rare that the chances of finding a fossil of one would be quite low. there's that theory that what is it called? Species recognition was playing a big role in how developed a lot of the ornamentation in dinosaurs was. So, like, because you had a bunch of different ceratopsids, you had a bunch of different hadrosaurs living all in the same environment, they developed these different display structures so that they could just, identify one another. Which, if that was a selection pressure, then yeah, there probably was hybridization going on if they were making mistakes. And mating with the wrong folks.
To reiterate, because we did only cover it for a short minute and we've had a couple more questions, we do plan at some point to hopefully dive into doing some streaming for dinosaur video games and talking about them basically real time as the game is played. And yeah, we need to save up for a decent streaming rig is the upshot of answering that question any further.
Yepers.
What did I just miss? Love Minus Zero asks, how exactly did Triceratops and its relatives eat with its giant beak mouth? They obviously needed to eat a lot and had tooth batteries, but the method for getting the food in the mouth seems odd.
You mean parrots manage? I imagine there was some tongue action going on. Hush. The beak could crop plants, but I imagine that actually moving it back into the mouth was the job of the tongue.
Will you make an episode about a Tyrannosaurus toy like you did with Tarbosaurus? Because you only did the skeleton video, not the flesh-living animal.
Oh, you notice, we have a lot of Tyrannosaurus toys, so we're going to have to do that eventually.
We did kind of start doing it with I Know Dinos.
We have done, we're eventually you'll be able to take all of our Tyrannosaurus content and assemble it into your own Tyrannosaurus, Your Dinosaurs Are Wrong episode, and it'll be about 5 hours long.
But if you haven't seen Mailbag number 2 and need to scratch that itch, we did do Your Dinosaur, or I Know Dino, the podcast logo recently because they sent a sticker into us. So that hopefully that'll hold you over for a bit till the next T-Rex segment we end up doing somehow. Could you add a view from below for the Pteranodon coloring page, please? I think
I'm going to redo that Pteranodon coloring page entirely. Oh, that was another thing I wanted to do. So we have these coloring book pages. I talked about how I want to do one where like parts of the outline are missing so that people can fill in their own like speculative flesh structures or speculative feather lengths or whatever. I want to do one where like there's a close-up of the head, maybe there's, profile view and dorsal view, or maybe there's like a schematic view and then a more like artistic pose, like an action shot or something. Like have an actual like layout to the page instead of just the dinosaur in profile view, which is the most boring way. I mean, these were done because it's the art from the episode, but
oh no, we know a bunch of little kids. Okay, the reply was, I'm sure little kids could watch Your Dinosaurs Are Wrong, expand their vocabulary prodigiously. I was watching Walking with Dinosaurs and the sequels at like 4, and I agree that...
Oh yeah, I was reading way above my reading level when I was a little kid with regards to dinosaurs.
Our point is that we don't specifically make these for children.
Right, we include adults in our audience as well.
Yeah. We don't bring it down to what a standard test would say a level for someone who is 4 or 5 is, essentially.
Right. That was what was so weird about doing that one episode we did about the Tyrannosaurus skeleton.
Like for that one test.
Yeah, for the MEA. The guidelines for like what you have to cover for children is really specific. Not used to that. I'm used to just, hey, this would be cool to talk about. Let's talk about this. Okay, here we go.
Yep. Will this live stream be uploaded? Yes. You'll be able to watch this on playback as soon as it finishes processing itself. This will not be taken private or anything like that.
I'm flattered that you want to. Also, thanks for tuning in.
Let's see. So I gather you've gotten toys of Albertosaurus, Displetosaurus, etc. I think we have.
We have an Albertosaurus. I don't know if we have a Displetosaurus. I don't remember off the top of my head. I have a list.
Jonathan asks, how could ornithopods protect their nests and eggs despite having no way to defend from large carnivores?
I mean, they are themselves quite large, and they're in sufficient numbers that I don't think a carnivore would be, that enterprising. Like, the animals that would go after eggs were significantly smaller than an adult ornithopod.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're talking about small ornithopods, in which case, probably hiding.
Monica asks, which in your dinosaur collection is your favorite?
Oh. Do I have it? I don't have it with me. My Allosaurus from when I was a kid is my favorite. And it always has been.
Is that the...
It's the Jurassic Park one, yeah.
Or is that the green one with the red eyes?
Oh, no, that's a Tyrannosaurus. That was my favorite until I got the Allosaurus.
Fernando asks, what are some of the best places to stay up to date in dinosaur knowledge?
Any channel that Deinonychus is on, because he constantly posts new research as it comes out. And also, thank you.
You can also follow him on Twitter.
This is true.
Are you a fan of Jack Kirby's Devil Dinosaur or Rip in Time by Richard Corbin?
I have never heard of either of those. Sorry.
Again, there's a lot of pop culture, I guess you would call it, to kind of encompass all of it that neither of us really absorb concerning dinosaurs.
Thank you for alerting me to that, though. I will totally check it out now. That I know that it exists.
Sergio asks, what do you think is the purpose of the vertebrate spines on Amargasaurus and Bajadasaurus? Bajadasaurus?
Well, that's spoiling because that's our next episode, or at least Amargasaurus is. I mean, I think it's a mixture of things, sort of like what we had with Stegosaurus earlier, if you were here for that. The defense angle makes sense, except that they're so extreme that it has to be both defense and also display on top of that.
Is the famous Mongolian fossil, the fighting dinosaurs, your favorite fossil, since it has an amazing Velociraptor locked in battle with a Protoceratops? Smiley face.
Favorite fossil. I've never seen it. I feel like... I don't know. Favorite is such a biased thing, though. I think it is objectively the best fossil, or the best dinosaur fossil, just because it preserves that behavior and because it's so complete already. But is it my favorite fossil? I think my favorite fossil is a fossil that I have personally interacted with, or at least, seen, not necessarily touched.
We have a recommendation for Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur.
Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, okay.
What is your favorite prehistoric fish and why?
Favorite prehistoric fish? Cladistically, all dinosaurs are fish. We're fish. All vertebrates are fish. have one.
Oh, wow.
Sorry.
Sorry. YouTube just shot a wobbly there. Josh asks, I noticed that Steven hasn't reviewed any Jurassic Park toys. Why not? It's kind of like trying to say a movie monster's wrong in a lot of cases, isn't it?
Well, that was kind of the point. You're going to see the Velociraptor episode soon, but that's kind of the point I come to, is that, like, Jurassic Park has this huge shadow on the popular consciousness of dinosaurs. So we do need to talk about it, but for starters, I don't have a lot of Jurassic Park dinosaurs. I have a few. I have my Allosaurus, which is didn't even appear in the movies, but they had an Allosaurus toy. There was an Allosaurus in Jurassic World 2.
Mm-hmm.
But we mostly haven't talked about Jurassic Park because then you have to also talk about, Jurassic Park as a movie at the same time, unless you're using one of the toys that they made that didn't even appear in the movie, as with Allosaurus. It might just be that we just haven't gotten to them yet. It wasn't any kind of conscious decision, other than maybe like a personal fear not to attract that level of attention.
Oliver G says, I remember when I would be the only one talking on chat, talking about when I was at the British Antarctic Survey. Schools have been closed early in the UK, so I'm waiting 6 months until university. Just wanted to say thanks for keeping me interested in paleontology and zoological studies in general.
You are quite welcome. Thank you for your kind words. Also, good luck.
Nikla, I hope I got that right, asks, what is a subject or hobby that interests you a lot besides dinosaurs?
Subject or hobby that interests me a lot besides dinosaurs?
The Huns.
I like late antiquity, early Middle Ages history, especially in Europe and Central Asia. I like Lord of the Rings. I ride a bicycle. That's kind of a hobby because I have to maintain a bicycle.
Have you ever played What Dinosaur Are You from the Natural History Museum of London's website? I got Cryolophosaurus first try.
Wait, what do you mean first? Were you trying to get Cryolophosaurus?
I think they took the quiz more than once, and that's just what they got. But maybe they're implying that they were trying for it.
Yeah, that the phrasing "on my first try" implies that Cryolophosaurus is like the win state. To answer your question, no, I have not done that.
Maybe we could do a segment in an upcoming blog or something for fun.
Sure.
Have you read Jurassic Park, the novel?
Mm-hmm.
Did you like it?
It's alright. I think the movie holds up a little better. The characterization of Hammond in the movie is a lot stronger. Even though, I don't know. I think the theme comes across clearer in the book, but... Oh, actually, you know what? I changed my mind. I think the book is better because if I read the book, I can imagine that they're paleontologically accurate dinosaurs. There we go. Checkmate.
Have you heard of Trey the Explainer, and what do you think about his work?
Trey the Explainer has contacted us a couple of times. He's used our graphics for videos once or twice.
I haven't actually watched a lot of his stuff.
I haven't watched a lot of his stuff either.
I know he hasn't done a lot of paleontology stuff lately.
Oh, really? Oh.
Unless something has changed very recently.
It's not a style of video that I watch very much. Like, I tend to... Actually, most of my YouTube viewing is listening to stuff. So I guess it actually is the kind of video I would watch. But no, I haven't watched very much of his stuff. Nothing to, from what little I've watched, nothing to complain about, really.
Any thoughts on the Lego Jurassic Park T-Rex Rampage set?
Lego Jurassic, say again?
Lego Jurassic Park T-Rex Rampage set.
I don't know about that set. My friend does Lego, but I was a Connects kid, so I never really got into Lego. I had a Mega Bloks Tyrannosaurus. I should get that the next time I visit. My dad definitely still has that in his basement. My dad never throws anything away. I should get that.
We are coming up on about 5 minutes left. We will run a little bit over if there's enough questions. So get them in the next minute or two if you have any left. Because the hard cutoff will be probably 5 after. Let's see. What is the value of getting the biology right? How do you respond to people who ask why we bother to teach paleontology in schools?
Right, so that gets into the problem of, like, is knowledge valuable in its own right, or is it just the extrinsic value that we can extract from it? Like, I've come down on the side of it's fun to know things, but I recognize that, like, resources have to be poured into this that are not going to other things. So why should we pour resources into this that could be going to, like, I don't know, solving the energy crisis or whatever else? Which is a fair question. I don't know that I have an answer other than it's fun to know things. Humans are uniquely capable of understanding the world around us in a way that no other animal can. So I feel like we have a responsibility, we have a duty to all of the animals that came before us to understand them, to just acknowledge that they existed. It's kind of a frou-frou answer to that question, but that's how I feel about it.
Someone just says art review with a lot of question and exclamation points, and I'm wondering if they're asking if we're willing to do that or not.
Art review question mark?
I think he's asking if we'd ever, like, criticize.
Oh, like criticize paleo art?
I don't know about that.
I wouldn't be comfortable. Well, like if it was like an interview and I could talk to the paleo artist about their piece and, like, ask them about it, I would absolutely do that. I'm not a very good interviewer, though, so maybe not. But like, I'm not here to
rag on anyone.
Yeah, unless that person sculpted a toy for a toy company and then the toy company made a bad toy.
Yeah.
Which I feel conflicted about that element of it. Like, people did work on these dinosaurs that we review, and I don't always... In fact, I don't put any effort into knowing who the sculptor was on the toy. I just kind of treat it like it's this monolithic thing that was birthed from a company somewhere, whereas it's something that, you know, human hands made. So, reviewing a piece of paleo art doesn't have that distance that the toys do.
Yeah. Endless Ocean asks, why did pterosaurs grow so big compared to avian dinosaurs?
Because they could. That's basically the answer.
There was enough food and such to support
Yeah,
them.
there was enough food, and their method of flying allows them to get quite large. Or their method of taking off, I suppose I should say. In general, if resources are available, being bigger has advantages over being smaller in most cases. So, you know, there was selection pressure to get bigger. Birds have mechanical constraints on how big they can get. and still be able to fly. Interestingly, there are no living birds that are at that limit, even though the constraints have not changed. Or I guess the constraints have changed. You're welcome, birds. That was on behalf of humans, because we keep killing birds' habitats.
I think we can just wrap up today with answering these few last questions.
Sure.
And we can show off what we worked on. Well, you worked on.
Should we have Liz color if we do this again?
I'd be even less.
Put a lizard in the chat.
Put a lizard in the chat.
For Liz. Don't do that. I think putting emotes in the chat might get your account banned. Please don't do that.
Yeah, I don't know if YouTube fixed that issue, and they have no humans there right now to unban you.
Oh, that's right. That's right. YouTube is completely automated right now. We are so doomed.
TK asks, would you do old paleo art for a video? And I think they're asking, would you show your old paleo art?
My old paleo art? I mean, I'm doing that right now, and I'm cringing pretty hard.
I think they're implying, like, childhood paleo art.
I could talk about the art that I made as a kid. If I don't have some of my favorite art that I did as a kid, I think I talked about this once before. When I was in kindergarten, my teacher called my mom because every time I drew a dinosaur, I would draw a big X through it and a bullet hole and blood coming out of the bullet hole because I needed the teacher to understand that I knew that the dinosaurs were extinct. And apparently this did not come across, and the teacher was worried about my mental state.
I think on that note, we can call the stream. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out for this experiment. It's been really fun, actually.
Yes, thank you for tuning in.
Let us... Go ahead.
Once more, Velociraptor. Next week.
At some point. I won't give a day because...
Yeah, that's fair.
God help us if we miss that day for some stupid reason.
Right.
But if you would like us to do more, let us know in the chat or the comments or on Twitter or whatever. And yeah, thanks for hanging out. And this was fun. Say goodbye, Steven.
Goodbye, Steven.
Okay.